So what's this with the SP running on the KT? We're showing you right now on the main track. Hey everyone, my name is Mike. Welcome back to the main track. It's great to have you on board. Well, today we're going to be doing a little bit of show and tell here on the layout. This right here is one of my newest locomotives from my roster. It's an Athearn Genesis GP38-2 painted in the Southern Pacific scheme. Now, these models have been in production for a few years now, and they've had multiple releases for various road names. So you might be asking, what in the world is a Southern Pacific unit doing here on my Missouri, Kansas, Texas layout? Well, it actually does fit in. That's because through the 1980s, you could find Southern Pacific and Cotton Belt run-through locomotives on Katy trains. And I've always kind of liked the SP anyway. I talk a lot about the Katy in Sedalia, Missouri, but the old Mopac line through town also hosted Cotton Belt Southern Pacific trackage rights trains. So this unit definitely provides something a little different here in my growing sea of green and yellow Katy engines. Now, I got this GP38-2 off of eBay for a really good price. I'll tell you more about this locomotive here in a couple of minutes. But speaking of eBay, in our last video, I recommended ways to shop on the platform and to make it a good experience for you. You'll find that link right above. Now, in that, I told you about a recent issue I had that spurred me to actually make the video. It's a seller that didn't offer combined shipping. And I mentioned I paid $20 in postage for tiny detail parts that I figured cost him about $5 to ship. But as you can see here, it looks like I gave him a little too much credit, assuming $5. That item finally came in the mail after a pretty long delay and after I posted that video, and as you can see, it actually only cost him 63 cents to send it. So just another reminder for all of us to check the shipping policies when you're buying something on eBay, and definitely a lesson learned for me here. Now, I heard from a lot of you when it comes to shopping and selling on eBay. Most of you said you had pretty good experiences. There were some mixed reviews, and a few of you said you had some sour experiences. Now, in all of this, one of our viewers named Retro Friends asked us to keep this in mind. He said, "I really like your presentation of this video, but it's important to note that eBay has buyer protection and seller protection, and they bias toward the buyer. eBay does everything they can to attract buyers. You have a 99% chance of being able to return something that's not as advertised, even when returns are not accepted. In most cases, you'll even have your shipping refunded." Now, this is definitely some pretty good advice and a reminder for us from Retro Friends. I made sure to mention in that last video that 99.9% of my experiences on eBay have been positive. And that brings us right back around to that GP38-2 that I got off of eBay. Now, as I mentioned, these units have been out for several years now, and at this point in the game here on YouTube, there's probably a couple of hundred reviews of Athearn Genesis GP38s, so I'm just going to touch on some of the things that stick out to me after buying this engine. Now, as comes standard with these Athearn Genesis GP38-2s, this engine has a Soundtrax Tsunami 2 DCC decoder. Now, starting things up, it sounds really nice. From that EMD prime mover to the Nathan P3 horn SP is known for. I remember being a little kid and hearing that horn, and you knew that a Southern Pacific Cotton Belt train was coming into town. Now, the paint and lettering on this unit is very nice and crisp. I'm really enjoying the gray and scarlet color scheme here, and obviously being a Southern Pacific unit, it's a candidate for some good weathering down the line. Athearn did a pretty good job here of including road-specific details like the L-shaped windshield, which some of the railroads used. The goal there was providing better visibility for the engineer up front. And I really like the headlights. Very bright LEDs lighting the way, here on the nose and on the rear. And one of my very favorite parts is the oscillating headlight. You can see here this flashed in an attention-grabbing pattern to provide a visual warning for motorists at crossings up ahead. And all the other details are pretty great, everything from the handrails to the see-through fans on top, and inside the cab you can see the control stand. We've also got some very nice windshield wipers. Now, this thing is definitely packed out with nice details, but they're very delicate, especially the handrails. That brings us to a question a lot of model railroaders ask is when you're buying things, what's more important, durability or the details? As for the operations, it's pretty good and on par with the other Athearn Genesis units I have. Well, unfortunately, just the same, one particular drawback is the stops and starts are a little too abrupt for my taste. Now, even with my momentum on, it's kind of jerky taking off, but once I get going, even at slower speeds, all is well for the most part. Now, I'm still trying to play with some of the settings on this unit to see if I can smooth things out, but some other folks have told me that's one thing that's not the best about these Genesis units. But overall, I'm really loving this locomotive. Now, I don't plan on going all Southern Pacific on everyone. I'm still Katy all the way, but I wouldn't mind having another one of these units or two just to have something a little different here on the layout. And so what do you think? Do you have any of these Athearn GP38-2s on your own layout? I'd love to hear about your experiences. You can leave those down below in the comments. I'll keep an eye out for those. We'll see you next time right here on the main track.